Joan Vassos details her and Chock's journey as Weirdness. April 26, 2025. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bachelor Nation News fans. Joan Vassos knows her relationship with Chock Chapple is unique. They met on a dating show and got engaged after knowing each other for just a few weeks. She opened up about how weird the journey is and why they aren't in a rush to marry. The Bachelor franchise takes a unique approach to dating and marriage. The lead dates multiple people at once and hopes at least one of them is compatible in the long run. While the show doesn't require an engagement at the end, it's what fans expect. After 2 decades of featuring people in their 20s and 30s, the show finally gave the older generation a second chance at love. Jerry Turner was ABC's first Golden Bachelor. Joan Vassos was a contestant but left the show early due to a family matter. However, she was tapped to be the first ever Golden Bachelorette. After a few weeks of handing out roses, she gave Chock Chapple her final one. They got engaged during the season finale. In a new interview with Us Weekly, Joan Vassos said that viewers saw it all on TV but don't really know what it's like to be in the environment of the dating show. It's important that people recognize that it's a very weird journey that you go on when you do The Bachelor. You take a leap of faith right at the end, Joan said about her engagement to Chock Chapple. She added, "You're taking a leap of faith and then you go out and you start dating them, and that dating takes a little bit of time." Why they're not rushing into marriage. Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple are still in the early dating stages. Despite being engaged, they don't live together. They don't even live in the same state. They have completely separate lives but get together when they can. But fans are constantly asking her when they will marry. But tying the knot is the last thing on their minds right now. Joan explained, "We're spending time getting to know each other even more. There's no rush. I don't have a biological clock. I'm over that. I have 4 kids. It does add to the whole element of it. We're not dying to build a house together. We both have homes. We have all those things that we're not worried about doing." Golden Bachelorette responds to critics questioning relationship. Joan and Chock are grateful for the Golden Bachelorette experience and the opportunities it has given them. She was the guest bartender on a recent episode of Bravo's Watch What Happens Live. But one downside of the show is the focus from fans on when the couple will marry. Joan Vassos had a message for the fans. She said, "We're just having fun being together. I want to say, let us be together. Let's just have fun and date." She added, "We will get married, but we are not ready to plan a wedding out." Do you think fans should stop asking Joan and Chock when they'll get married and just let them enjoy the dating phase? When Joan Vassos first walked onto the set of The Golden Bachelor, America fell in love with her. Graceful, elegant, and heartbreakingly relatable, Joan's journey was one that fans rooted for from the start. But few knew that behind the scenes, Joan's life was being shaped by something she would later call nothing short of weirdness. Now, months after her whirlwind with Chock, yes, that Chock, Joan is finally pulling back the curtain. And what she's revealing? It's way messier, more beautiful, and more bizarre than anyone dared imagine. Here's the inside story, and it changes everything. From roses to roller coasters. The very beginning, when Joan met Chock, no one could have predicted the chaos that would follow. They weren't supposed to meet, not really. Joan had been slated to leave the Golden Bachelor early. Family emergencies had pulled her home. Meanwhile, Chock hadn't even been cast yet. He was a late addition, a wildcard brought in to shake things up for the later seasons. Golden Paradise, anyone. But fate, in all its messy brilliance, had other plans. In a never-before-seen crossover twist, yes, even more shocking than Braden's feather earring era, Joan and Chock ran into each other during a network event post-filming. Joan later described the moment in one word: weird. It was like, you know how you feel when you're about to sneeze. That pause, that weird feeling you can't explain? Meeting Chock was like that. suspended animation, weirdness. At the time, no one knew what to make of it, least of all Joan and Chock. What made their connection so weird? Here's where things start to get seriously juicy. Joan and Chock didn't date right away. For months, their relationship played out like something straight out of a surreal indie film. They wrote letters, actual handwritten letters, in 2025. Who does that? They mailed each other bizarre little gifts. Chock once sent Joan a rock he found shaped exactly like a heart. Joan sent him a thrifted t-shirt that said, "My other car is a broomstick." They refused to call it dating. They referred to it instead as the experiment. Joan now laughs about it in interviews. "We didn't know what we were doing. It was too weird to call it a relationship, but too intense to pretend it was casual." At one point, Chock even posted a cryptic Instagram story, a photo of a squirrel with the caption, "She gets me." Fans lost it trying to decode what it meant. Newsflash, it was about Joan. A love language all their own. Fast forward to the fall of 2024. Joan and Chock's weirdness only deepened. Instead of standard date nights, they did things like spend 2 hours making a fort out of bedsheets and reading ghost stories. Enter a bad karaoke competition, where the goal was to sing as terribly as possible and win. Write and act out fake soap operas for each other. Their love wasn't conventional. It was chaotic, unfiltered, and deeply them. "He's the only man who's ever made me feel like I could be a complete weirdo and still be adored," Joan confessed during an emotional podcast appearance. Chock, equally smitten, said, "Joan's brain is like a galaxy made out of poetry, bad puns, and tiny miracles. Why would I want anything normal?" When weirdness got hard. But it wasn't always rainbows and heart-shaped rocks. Joan admitted that their unconventional bond sometimes led to brutal misunderstandings. "We're both so in our own heads," she shared. "Sometimes I'd think he didn't care when he was just overthinking. Sometimes he'd think I was pulling away when I was just scared." In late December, they hit a major rough patch. Joan cryptically posted a quote, "You can love someone and still not know how to stand next to them." Fans panicked. Was it over? For a while, it looked grim. Friends close to the couple revealed that Joan and Chock even spent 3 weeks without speaking. No letters, no weird gifts, just silence. Joan called it the loneliest weirdness she'd ever felt. The twist no one saw coming. And then, out of nowhere, a package arrived at Joan's door. Inside, a single feather. A note that said, "Even birds get lost sometimes, still flying toward you." Chock had broken the silence in the weirdest, most perfect way possible. Joan said she burst into tears the second she saw it. "It wasn't just the feather," she explained. "It was knowing he spoke my language, even in confusion, even in heartbreak." Within days, they were back in touch. Within weeks, they were inseparable again. Joan's most honest confession yet. During a new interview with Golden Hour magazine, Joan got candid like never before. "I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I still think, what the heck are we even doing? It's not the love story I thought I'd have. It's weird, it's messy, but it's ours, and I've never felt more seen in my entire life." She added something that stopped fans dead in their tracks. "If loving Chock is weirdness, then I never want to be normal again." Cue the collective awu. What's next for Joan and Chock? According to insiders, Joan and Chock have big plans, and true to form, they're nothing traditional. Among the possibilities reportedly floating around, a cross-country road trip in a vintage Airstream covered in bumper stickers. Opening a bookstore that only sells secondhand books with notes in the margins. Adopting a dog together named Weirdo. Yes, really? Joan hints at it but won't confirm much. "We're planning something. Very us," she teased with a mischievous grin. The fans react. Naturally, Bachelor Nation has thoughts. "I've never shipped a couple harder," one fan wrote. Weirdos finding weirdos is peak romance, another chimed in. If Joan and Chock break up, love is fake, one particularly dramatic commenter declared. The couple even inspired a trending hashtag. Hashtag weirdness wins. Why Joan's story matters, especially now. In a world obsessed with curated Instagram feeds and perfect love stories, Joan's honesty about weirdness feels downright revolutionary. She's not pretending her relationship is a fairy tale. She's not selling an image of effortless bliss. She's standing in her messy, hilarious, tear-streaked, feather-filled truth and saying, "This is real, this is enough." And honestly, it's the love story we didn't know we needed. Final words, Joan on Loving Without Fear. In her latest post, Joan left fans with a message that's sticking with us long after the screen goes dark. Don't wait for love to look the way you thought it would. Love will look weird. It will surprise you. It will show up in rock-shaped hearts and feathers at your door. Let it. And if Joan and Chock have anything to say about it, weirdness isn't just surviving, it's absolutely thriving. Hashtag weirdness wins.